greetings.
Good, well done.
Here we go. Well played. Well played, eh? And mighty Manawatu colours. Liking it. Okay. Green and proud. Green and proud.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm going to record our little chat, if you don't mind, and just use it as an opportunity to update our people and our customers and clients. And I think it's a nice way to keep people informed in our newly video connected world.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We've got some lights on here. Yep.
Yeah, coming through. And I dare say you've lost count of the number of video conferences you've already been on since this tricky lockdown period.
Yeah, we had a council meeting today, which it was an informal meeting, but it was still 17 people on the call, and just the etiquette and how people work in those meetings is a challenge as well. 2, 3, even half a dozen are okay. Your guys seem pretty good, actually, to be honest, because you had a few connected.
Yeah, we're getting some good attendance figures, and as you say, when you're out of sight, out of mind, you want to still maintain that focus because business still continues, and so it's not a working holiday as such. Yes, there's new challenges with family dynamics and your bubble, dynamics at play, distractions, but work must continue.
Yeah, and I think it's really the recovery. Our focus now is on the recovery, so it's just making sure that we hit the ground running pretty hard, and we've got to be seen to stimulate everything we bloody can. Whether it's just going over the top, thinking about a campaign about buy local, support your local businesses, whether it's a Palmy Proud loyalty card, all those sorts of things we've been discussing this morning. The last thing we want to do is actually go into hibernation and starve businesses from doing stuff, So there'll be quite a lot of work in that space around that recovery.
Yeah, good. And in terms of the city, I guess you've got the emergency ops centres being set up, and how's all that going?
Yeah, no, going well. So we were fortunate. We planned for that 2 weeks ago, so we were a week ahead of the game. Our council have been leading a digital transformation anyway. It certainly got engaged pretty quickly, and those that weren't up with the play are now up with the play. Just to give you an example, the organisation of 650 odd people, not all of them have laptops, not all of them need laptops, because we've got 200 odd guys in there and women in our works department, in gardens and parks and reserves. But some and majority of our staff do need digital connections. We only had a couple of hundred laptops, so we really had to gear up quite quickly. And then there's the use of software, video connections, not just your traditional Zoom and Skype, but like Teams, which is a Microsoft product, and just connecting up with people. So, and then it was externals. How do you connect to externals? So, like we're doing today, just making sure that we can talk and see each other and communicate as well as we can.
Yeah, and I guess we've got all these new, conditions imposed on us. The social, physical distancing. Have you got any stories to tell and share, and how that's?
Oh look! I think the city, to be honest, the city's coping pretty damn well, and hats off to everybody that's playing by the rules. I mean, there is a bit of congestion on walkways. I mean, the sun's out today, so everybody will get out and try and do things. I myself went for a quick walk this morning, and it's actually quite beautiful out there at the moment. But it's, the footpaths, the walkways, people are reconnecting with their bikes. There'll be some good stuff out of this. You chat to your neighbours there, whereas normally you might give them a wave and get off as quickly as you can, normally in your car or work vehicle. Whereas now people are taking the time to say, "G'day, you all okay? Everything fine?" Dogs are getting a pretty good workout, so if you've got an overweight dog, you're not doing enough. There's those sorts of things. There has been a little bit of congregating at supermarkets, so again, that's just really people understanding how the system works. that 2 metre rule is pretty important. I see we have another 60 odd cases, or we're up to 650 now in terms of people with coronavirus within the country. But the good thing is we're not seeing a huge amount of community transmission, all those clusters. So it's just making sure that we keep safe, that 2 metre distancing, and it's physical distancing. It's not social distancing. So you still can ring people, you still can drop something off or say g'day to somebody, and I encourage people to do that. We've seen our police been in regular contact with our police commander, and touch wood, things are reasonably good in the city. Although the usuals of family violence and that has occurred, and not that we should expect it, but it's an unfortunate thing of society today. And when people coming off drugs and all sorts of other things, they look for other outlets. So, but by and large, Rob, the city's coping pretty well. Our central services, we're in with waters through to emergency roadworks to rubbish, collection of recycling. We're still physically doing the bottles, so they're going, but other recycling is being landfilled at the moment, unfortunately. We'll come right after the lockdown because the city does have a good reputation in the recycling space. Things like the cemeteries, dog control, contact centre, welfare lines, food banks, all of that stuff's still continuing.
Right, that's good. We're certainly feeling as though the neighbourhood and community spirit and support is coming together more tightly in these times. So I guess that's a benefit in terms of the community, bringing us back to basics and focusing on looking out for each other. Yeah, seeing lots of that.
Yeah, definitely seeing lots of that. And look, that'll be good when we come out of the lockdown, and just talking about that recovery. It's what we do in that recovery phase, which will be really important. And being slightly selfish around the business sector and certainly the property market is Palmerston North normally recovers pretty well. If you go back through some other crises, the global financial meltdown, the stock market, if you go right back to the stock market, share market crash, even farm subsidies dropping. This city has coped pretty well through those global and national issues, and I think we will again. We've got a diverse economy. Our sectors actually feed into what is critical at the moment, i.e. logistics, transportation. That won't be taken away from us because we're centrally located. But also food production, our connection to the land. So the agribusiness, the agri-tech, the agriculture certainly comes and will lead the way. Talking to Fonterra yesterday, they're full steam ahead, and they are now back up to, certainly in a production sense, back up to where they were prior to the lockdown. And they've got their first shipment away to China. So that's encouraging. And look, I think they'll lead the way. Agriculture will, the primary industries will lead the way as we recover. Our shop window will be broken. There'll be no doubt about that. The retailers, the hospo sector and accommodation sector will take some time to come back. But look, it's early days, day 7 out of this, and we've still got a good 3 weeks to go. But touch wood, we're going okay. The next week will be critical in terms of how the country reacts to in the health sense, and time. That time will dictate what happens thereafter.
Yeah, well, there's certainly tons of speculation out there and commentary around economic impacts post this tricky lockdown period. As you say, we've got a pretty balanced local economy here, and we haven't, I guess, traditionally suffered from the high highs and the low lows. We've just been steady as she goes. Do you see that changing at all?
Look, it's hard. Who knows? But if you take data and research, one would think that's probably going to be the outcome. If we come out of this lockdown in 4 weeks or even 5 weeks, whatever that may be, I think you'll see quite a flurry of activity initially. Everyone will want to get out and say hi to everybody. So one would hope that there'll be some business as usual quite quickly. It'll mean we'll be able to probably re-engage with some of our normal business activity, whether that's issuing of inspections, permits, all those sorts of things from a council point of view, which will encourage the building and construction sector and property sector to get back into line pretty quickly. My personal take is on it, if the numbers continue as they have done in the last couple of days and the following week, then I think we're gonna beat this virus. And thank goodness we closed down when we did. As hard as that's been, it's probably been the best call.
Yeah, well, certainly some strong national leadership, and good on Jacinta for getting on the front foot. So you got to take your hat off, to being brave and courageous enough to take that step. So from a local, regional level, in terms of the virus, COVID-19, how are we faring there? And is there anything we can do to help?
So the latest stats that I have, and they may need to be updated again later today, is we've got 10 with one probable, so 11 in the Mid-Central Health Board, DHB Health Board. Per capita, that's pretty low, and they are all from overseas or connected to overseas travel. Few in Palmerston North, but mainly in the wider region. But they still come through the city in some way, and obviously into the health board. None are in Palmerston North Hospital, which is a good sign. They're self-isolating. They're coping well with their issues. So that's good. We're still testing is still carrying on, and I see the Prime Minister yesterday was around test, and that aspect is carrying on as we speak. And there are testing stations right around the city and the wider region.
Right. I mean, there's obviously lots of cry for help and offers for assistance, but I guess the main thing we can all do is stay in our bubble. Keep safe and the process, keep others, minimise the risk of infection. Are there any numbers, any websites that we can volunteer and, if needed, call upon for deliveries and so forth?
Yeah, so my call to everybody is the best thing you can do is stay in your bubble. If you've got to go out, keep that distancing, that physical distancing. If you're feeling unwell, obviously contact the Healthline. If you're needing any assistance in terms of welfare, i.e. if you're a bit older and you can't get out to a supermarket, you can get food dropped to you. So go to the PNCC website. The hotline is there. It's an 0800 number. And if you're after prescriptions, repeat prescriptions, those sorts of things, and also food or transportation, go to that welfare hotline. That will get you some. They'll either be able to direct you to somebody quite urgently or help you immediately.
Great. And I guess that we hear about heroes on the front line. We talk about the supermarket workers, the packers. Are there any hero stories you'd like to touch on or top of mind?
I think, we're getting retired police, we're getting retired doctors, retired nurses putting their hands up wanting to help. They are good essential workers. Everyone wants to help in some way. Even I want to do stuff, but my best job is to stay well and lead from digitally for the front of the city and not be a driver or something like that. But there are people are doing really good jobs. We've had ex-professional drivers saying, look, I'm locked up here, I can maybe drive a health shuttle for you or do the Meals on Wheels. So we're getting good feedback from volunteers, and I think New Zealanders and Palmerston North especially volunteers really well. So there's been some good stuff. Our council staff that are on the front line, I've had Liberians that have redeployed to become cleaners, and they're cleaning all our public toilets every 3 hours. So we've got that sort of stuff happening, and that's really encouraging. Just on the business side too, there is an element of business as usual from our contact centre. So if you need to ring the council about anything, ring the normal council line. That'll connect through to our contact centre, and that's all still operating. If you've got a building consent, that of course is all done online as well. And although there might be some limitations to that, we're still trying to conduct business as usual there as well.
Oh, well, that's fantastic, and what a great demonstration of spirit, isn't it? And that's what it's all about.
There's two things, Rod. I got sent the other day, and this is one of them's very much for you, is get used to instant coffee. So you've got to get used to that. And also, no matter how bad it is, stay positive
Well,
because
and that's
you've
it,
got to
I
keep
think.
those spirits up.
Yeah, we do, and that's something that we're internally inside of Bailey's are really focused on is just staying positive and trying to stay away from speculation and almost tuning out of the news and just spending quality time with those closest to you and also those in a virtual sense. We're certainly seeing that sort of working for us.
Yeah, you are so right. There is so much information out there at the moment. I was getting up to 12 COVID-19 reports and daily, and I just said to our guys, please, I just want one that I can rely on. And there was just too much information. So any organisation was trying to put out a report that was pertinent to either their organisation or their members or their workers or whatever, and it was almost an information overload. So the same with the media and I was obviously social media. I've stayed off social media a little bit because there's just, there's mainly doom and gloomers.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
Look, it was interesting just listening to, the power of TV and recognised stations like TV1 and TV3's come back a little bit. I'm listening. I'm waiting for that news update or the Prime Minister's release at 1 o'clock normally, because it's going to be factual and it's the real information. Listening to Martin Hawes last night, obviously a financial commentator, it was interesting getting his feedback. He said, people bounce back. There's been corrections. There always will be corrections. And people bounce back. And he was quite positive, actually, that New Zealand's probably done the right thing about the lockdown as it did. And the sooner, better to play by the rules now because there'll be the sooner that we come out of this lockdown if we do.
Yeah, I mean, certainly coming into the lockdown, I mean, being involved in the real estate sector, there's never been stronger telltale signs in terms of how we're tracking performance-wise, but still being affordable relative to the main cities. Record median sales price. Yeah, we've got some supply challenges like most other places around New Zealand to that end. But the regional outlook's still positive. We've got so much infrastructure, development earmarked and actually occurring. Has that taken a back seat or is that still happening?
No. So it's interesting you say that. And the government announced today around infrastructure projects that are shovel ready, that they may not be aware of. They're ready to pump and stimulate the economy where they can in any city or any region. Palmerston North and the wider Manawatu has nearly $4 billion worth of a pipeline of investment coming. Quasi-government, utility-based, whether it's defence, logistics, transportation, utilities, i.e. power, wind power, that is all happening. The blades were transferred up, or some of them starting to come up yesterday from Port Taranaki up through the highways, why there isn't a lot of cars and trucks on the roads to get them up into the wind farm. So that sort of stuff's still going on. A lot of planning works continuing around build projects, construction projects, our own city arena redevelopment. We ticked off on that a day before lockdown, awarding things to go ahead. So, I mean, those sorts of things will continue. So, look, I'm really positive that we're in a good space in the circumstances. And if there was a region to be in, Palmy or the Manawatu would probably be one of the ones you'd want to be in because of our diversity and our resilience to national, international sort of trends.
Oh, that's encouraging, and what a wonderful place to live, work and play. I'd imagine that we're going to be even perhaps more strongly placed and attractive to an influx of post-lockdown world.
Yeah, and look, you talk about the supply chain of houses and residential properties and that sort of thing. Look, we are, and I hope it's a bit of a lag. I certainly know there is a huge amount of consenting going through the place at the moment, and along with our other TA colleagues around us, are also we're feeling the same sort of upbeat housing demands. And look, we're getting more sections coming online. Probably the issue is getting them online at all parts of the market, all price points. And we've, from executive level right through down to sort of affordable first homes. So that'll be the challenge as we go forward. And you're right, there probably will be more people coming in.
That's not a bad problem from a real estate point of view, just being selfish for a moment. But hey, look, it's never been about us. It's really about mindfulness of others, and that's probably the most important message that we're encouraging our teams, and just to be the good people that we are. I think that's going to get us through, and it's about community. So just stay connected, do this. And maybe, in fact, I've heard about some great initiatives, even in our street. We're getting out at the end of the driveways, having a little bit of a catch up with other neighbours, respecting the distancing rules, and just having a good chin wag, having 4 o'clock drinks. I'm not going to admit that they're getting earlier and earlier every day, but stranger things have happened. So, hey, look, Grant, thanks very much for your time today. I trust that you and your family are all keeping well in good spirits. You've got the family at home?
Yeah, so I'm a bubble with Michelle and her dog. But no, we're going well, and look, I'm actually as busy as I've ever been. It's just in a different, instead of face-to-face meetings, it's digital. So different space, but the same. Trying to be as positive as possible, and really, our space will be really where we come to the fore is leading that recovery.
Great. And so if people want to get out and reach out and volunteer, get onto the Palmerston City Council website.
Yeah, or ring the contact centre. And look, I'll just stress that the best thing you can do, though, is stay at home. But if you are if there's a bit of cabin fever going on, or you have a skill which you think you can help, and look, don't be disheartened if we can't take you up on it, because there is a lot of people volunteering. And we are pretty well catered for at this stage, but appreciate anybody that does want to offer.
Great. Oh, well, thank you so much, Mr. Smith, and enjoy the rest of your day. And it's wonderful for our region to be in such good hands.
Good on you. Thanks, Rod.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Thank you.